Welcome back to All About Winning Daily Fantasy Sports. My name is Ty Patton. I first and foremost want to wish all of you a very happy and safe Thanksgiving from my family to yours. Draftkings has provided us with a 3-game slate to work with on Thanksgiving with several different contests, including a showdown contest for each game. In this video, I will break down the last game of the NFL Thanksgiving trifecta as the two teams from the NFC South go to battle with the 9-2 New Orleans Saints visiting the 3-8 Atlanta Falcons in a rematch from a game played in Week 10 where the Falcons went into New Orleans and handed the Saints a 26-9 defeat. The Saints come into this game as a 6.5-point favorite with an over-under of 48 points. Now, before we dive into the particulars surrounding this game, I want to share some numbers that are fantasy relevant to the Showdown contest itself. Up to and including this past Monday night's showdown between the Rams and Ravens, there have been 85 Showdown contests. These Showdown contests have an average winning score of 132.20. The average winning captain score is 42.76. Since the average captain score represents 31% of the average winning score, I focus a lot of attention to the captain's position. With this being said, the captain position breaks down as follows. Underdog running backs have been the captain for the winning lineup more than any other position 18 times for 21%. Favorite quarterbacks 16 times for 19%. The favored wide receiver has been in the captain spot for the winning lineup 14 times for 16%. Favored running backs 11 times for 13%. Underdog wide receiver has been in the captain's spot for the winning lineup 10 times for 12%. The favorite defensive special teams 5 times for 6%. The underdog quarterback has also been in the winning lineup for the captain's spot 5 times for 6%. The underdog kicker has been in the captain's spot for the winning lineup 2 times for 2%. The favored tight end 2 times for 2%. The underdog tight end has been in the captain's spot for the winning lineup 1 time for 1%, and the underdog defensive special team has been the captain for the winning lineup 1 time for 1%. Now, I also combine these numbers by position and find the following. Running backs, underdog or favorite, have appeared in the captain spot for the winning lineup more than any other position 28 times, which is 33%. Wide receivers are next, 24 times for 28%. Quarterbacks, 21 times for 25%. All others represent 12 times for 14%. I also factor in the overall straight up record of the winning captains, which breaks down as follows. Running backs, 22 wins and 11 losses. Wide receivers in the captain spot, 13 wins and 11 losses. Quarterbacks in the captain spot, 15 wins and 6 losses. The overall record of the captain's position is 59 wins and 26 losses, which is 69%. The favorite captain, 48 times for 56%. The underdog captain, 37 times for 44%. Now, does this unlock the mystery for New Orleans and Atlanta tonight? Absolutely not. But what it does do is gives us numbers that we can use to give us a little bit of an edge, which in the end, that's all we're looking for is just a little edge. Some main takeaways from these numbers. Running backs appear in captain's position more than any other position, 1/3 of the time, 33%. Running backs and wide receivers combined for the captain's position 61% of the time. The captain comes from the winning team 69% of the time. Now, my process for building a showdown lineup involves I take a stand. Who do I think is going to win? What is the path of victory, meaning running game, passing game? What are the matchups that support this path? Who are the players that support this path to victory? And then who are a couple of players that support this theory, this game script, and have the most likelihood to be the highest scoring based on matchups and game theory. And then I build my lineup around the captain. In tonight's game, I am leaning towards New Orleans, avenging their earlier loss and putting on an offensive fireworks show versus the Falcons. Michael Thomas clearly has the best matchup in this game, as Atlanta has a DVP of number 29 versus the wide receiver position, and Thomas is poised to have a big game. Kamara is also in a good position. Atlanta has a number 15 DVP versus the running back position. They're a little bit better against running backs. They do have a problem with running backs that come out the backfield and catch passes. And this plays right into Kamara's hands. Now, Kamara hasn't had that real big game, so I do have a little bit of interest in him. But the thing that worries me about him is they use Latavius Murray quite a bit. They don't mind using Murray when they get down on the goal line. And for Kamara to be as expensive as he is, and he's not a bell cow running back, say like Ezekiel Elliott, it's kind of hard to get there as far as value. But I do have some interest in him, just slightly less than Michael Thomas. For Atlanta, New Orleans has a DVP of number 20 versus quarterbacks and number 21 versus wide receiver. There are questions surrounding Julio Jones and his shoulder. Make sure you check the injury report at 7 o'clock tonight. And New Orleans is has a number 6 DVP versus the running back. So they're real stingy versus the running game, which is going to force Matt Ryan to the air. I think he's going to have to go to the air anyhow because of game script and how I think the game's going to go. I feel like there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I believe he's going to be playing from behind. He's underdog quarterback at home, so he checks off the boxes. He's another viable play in these lineups because he's going to be in catch-up mode if you believe the Saints are going to come out and put some points on him. And the way to put points on the Saints is through the air. I will temper my expectations for Julio Jones. I think if he's going to be out there, he's going to be more of a decoy. I do look for Ridley to have another big game. He's had two or three big games in a row. Let's look here real quick. Ridley, he had 22 fantasy points last week versus Tampa Bay. 14 targets, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. And the week before that in Carolina, he had 8 receptions on 8 targets, 143 yards for 31.3 fantasy points. So Julio Jones, even if he's a decoy, takes some of the attention off of Ridley, and I believe that Ryan doesn't have any problem going to Ridley at all. Plus, Julio could be drawing Marshawn Lattimore, which actually you can cut down a little bit of your expectations based on that. I'm going to check this question. The Falcons are optimistic that Jones will be available for Thursday night, and that was 11:30 this morning. So make sure you check the injury report at 7. Check it again. Pre-game warm-ups come out. Can't go for some reason. You definitely don't want him in your lineup. I'm gonna have very few shares of Julio Jones. I like Ridley better. I even like Gage. Austin Hooper is also out for Atlanta, and they'll be using the kid J.D.M. Graham at tight end. So he's another one that you can fit into your Showdown lineups. So I'm going to build my lineups around Michael Thomas. I know it's chalky, so how you can, the rest of the lineup is the part that if 80% of the people have him in the captain spot, it's who you have in the flex spots is obviously going to win you the tournament or whatever contest you're in. So this is a lineup that I'm working on. I really like this. I have Michael Thomas in the captain spot, Drew Brees. I always like to use quarterback in the flex if I use a wide receiver in the captain spot. The only way he's going to go off is if Brees throws him the ball. Now, as long as Brees doesn't, as long as most of it goes to Thomas, you don't want a whole bunch of other receivers just equally balanced. So what I'm saying is Thomas is going to outscore Brees. Now, if I wanted to use Brees in the captain spot, what I'm saying is he's going to spread the ball around to some different receivers, and none of the receivers are going to outscore him. But this way, I think Michael Thomas is the right choice in the captain spot tonight. I'm going to use another player that often goes overlooked, and that is Taysom Hill. They have a few plays every game for Hill, and with the build that I'm going to build, and you'll see here, he allows me to get up to some other players. I really like him in that spot. They have some special packages for him. He catches the ball, he throws the ball. So, and I believe, 1,400, it doesn't take much to get value out of him or to even smash it a touchdown. And he's had a couple games where he got involved. Let's see, Atlanta, he had 3 points, 15 points versus Arizona, 21 points versus Tampa Bay. So they use him, and they didn't use him. I'm not sure what happened here. It says he had 1 fantasy point in week 12 versus Carolina, but it doesn't say what he did. So I'm just gonna put him in there. I just like how he fits, and you'll see with the rest of my lineup why I'm doing that. I'm gonna use Matt Ryan in the flex. I'm gonna use Matt Ryan's tight end that I just spoke about, Graham, who is J.D. Graham, 2,400. Started the game off last week. I believe it was a 54-yard reception. And Ryan likes to go to his tight end. And if Jones is out there as a decoy, they're going to funnel those targets to somewhere else. So he could be the beneficiary of that. And last, I have 8,400. I really like this guy tonight in this matchup. Calvin Ridley. Now this might be chalky, as I mentioned, because you have Michael Thomas in the captain's spot. I'm only leaving 400 on the table, so it might be chalky. But I like having both quarterbacks in there. I like having Taysom Hill. I like that option. I don't like to just go down and just select a $200 player and hope that they stumble and bumble and fall into the end zone somehow. I know that they do have certain packages for Taysom Hill, and I actually had some luck last year putting him in a couple of showdown lineups. But this is the build that I like, and I'm going to be putting this in a couple different contests. I don't MME, and I'll get into that when I talk about the optimizer. Meaning I don't put 150 lineups in a particular contest. Not because I have anything against anybody that does that. It totally makes sense. If I'm ever in the position to do it, I will be doing it. But I make a few different builds and then play some different contests, some head-to-head, 50-50, some bigger GPPs, take my shot at it. I feel like I have just as good a shot as anyone else. So this is the build that I'm going with. And the purpose of my video isn't to give you picks. I show you what I'm doing, but I'm telling you my process and the numbers that I use to get there. And we've talked about, some of the main takeaways. Captain comes from the winning team. Running backs and wide receivers account for 2/3 of the winning captain spot. So, and I feel like Thomas has the likelihood in a PPR contest on Draftkings, 1-point PPR. He has the potential to bust the slate and be the top scoring player. Now, as I always do, I like to use an optimizer. And I take the players that I'm interested in, and I set up, for Showdown, I set up just a few rules. Like if I have a quarterback in the captain spot, I want to have at least 2 targets. If I have a wide receiver in the captain spot, I like to have his quarterback in the flex. And just a few rules like that. I generally like to only use one of the 4 between the 2 defensive special teams and 2 kickers. I have used 2, but I definitely don't try to go more than 2. I try to keep it to 1. Kickers have the higher floor. I like the favorite kickers because their teams have the higher implied game totals. I oftentimes go with the home kicker. In this situation, I would favor the New Orleans kicker more than the Atlanta kicker because they have the higher implied total. Just makes sense. But I set minimum and maximum exposures, pick out a few captains that I like, 4 or 5 from both teams in case the game goes a different way. What's the path to Atlanta winning the game? and I set the exposures to that. And I set for the flex positions, I set the exposures for that. Generally, all of them are pretty close, and I just let it go and build me lineups. And did that today. I set it for 150 lineups. I set it to give me at least 2 unique players for every lineup, and I let it go. Today, it was able to generate 129 out of the 150 requested with the restrictions and exposures and things that I had. And as I always do, I always share the very first lineup that was generated. So, without further ado, this was the lineup that the optimizer gave me for the New Orleans Atlanta game tonight. It had Michael Thomas in the captain spot, and I did have him set at 35%. Drew Brees in the flex. It had Alvin Kamara. It had Matt Ryan. Does it count? No. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm very sorry. It's not. Here it is. Here we go. It had Michael Thomas. Let me get this here off of my phone here. Sorry about that. No. Here we go. Oh, here it is, you guys. I'm sorry. It had Calvin Ridley in the captain spot. Drew Brees. Russell Gage, wide receiver for Atlanta. It had Michael Thomas. And it had Will Lutz, the kicker. And it had Latavius Murray. So this is going all out, pretty much New Orleans. I do like these players. I like Gage, Breeze, teaming up with Thomas. By putting Ridley in the captain spot, that does allow you to get Breeze, Thomas, Latavius Murray, all those players in there. It used all 50,000, so it won't be too contrarian, this type of build, because a lot of people will like to build in a New Orleans onslaught, and that's basically what this is, except it's using 2 players. Me personally, I would have probably took, if I was going to build it this way, I would have probably took Kamara and then used the 1400 and come down and just went with an all-out onslaught. And that's what I do with some of the generated lineups. I'll look at them and say, I like that a little bit, and I'll change a few things. A couple times that's burned me, though. And I just look at the different ones. I might max out on the 25-cent 20 entries or the $1 20 entries, things like that. But this was what the optimizer generated. Spent all the salary. It was actually the one before this that I showed you where it had Gage in there, and it was Russell Gage. And who was the other player for the... Oh, it was Latavius Murray. So it's interesting, and I like it. I'll have it somewhere. But I just use the optimizer to see the different randomizations of the players that I like. So this wraps up the New Orleans Atlanta Showdown video. Hope you guys have had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I want to thank you for taking the time and joining me. I encourage you to please drop any opinions or comments that you may have below. Please share this video, like it, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Hit that notification bell so you get notified when my next video posts. I'll be posting some videos tomorrow as we start building for the main slate on Sunday. I have a different way I'm going to put it together this week because of the holidays and everything. But I will get some research and strategy out to you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to check that injury report at 7 o'clock tonight. Again, happy Thanksgiving. Good luck tonight. My name is Ty Patton. This is all about winning daily fantasy sports, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks a lot.